welcome to my Flosstube channel, Thread the Needle. My name is Vani and I live in Newfoundland, Canada. So I wanted to first say thank you to those of you who are returning viewers. Welcome back. And those of you who are new to this channel, this is my Flosstube channel where I talk about everything cross stitch. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe to the channel so you can come back. So let's jump right into it. We had it's been a few weeks now, a couple of weeks since my last video, and I was going through a new stitching plan that I had for the new year, and so we'll go over how it went. If it was a good plan, or if I found it too much, too little. Let's jump right into it. So the way that it worked, or the way that I structured my rotational plan for the last 2 weeks, because I have so many whips, but I wanted to touch more of them, and then I wanted to give significance to a few projects that I'm working on currently. I wanted to find a way that I could give them a solid amount of time, but at the same time be able to work on the multitude of projects that I have in my rotation. So the plan that I had come up with was on Sundays I would work with my Ganesha project, and on Mondays I would work on the Mystery Cell, and then on Tuesdays I'd work on the Siamese Fighting Fish project. And then the rest of the week I'd spin my wheel to let me know which one I was going to stitch on. And for the most part it worked, because prior to this, every project I would give 3 days before I switched it out. But because of the way that I structured my stitching plan this time, unless, the wheel landed on a project for a second night, if one night, if I was too tired, or if I had a headache, or because sometimes, I hate to say it, you're just not in the mood to stitch. If I wanted to read a book, or if I just wanted to do some other craft. So that was probably the only downside to the stitching plan that I had. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I know some people kind of think that they get into a groove with a particular project and they want to stick with it. I do get like that sometimes, but I also really enjoy picking up a new one the next night, because it gets me re-enthused about it, and then I'm really looking forward to going back to the one that I had to put down. So let's start. I actually, because it's Sunday, I actually still have Ganesha on my Q-snap. So let's start with where I am on this one. Excuse me. So Ganesha is done on 2/1 full crosses, full cross, and here is what I've been working on. I've worked on this whole lotus area section, and I'm slowly working into the diagonals, but you can see that even though I'm working on the diagonal, I am kind of, floating out of it as well, but it's coming along nicely. I'm really excited to finish this area here, and then over here will be more of the blues. So that should quickly, a little bit boring, which is another reason I really like only having to stitch on something for one night, because especially if I'm in an area where it's monotonous stitching of the same colors and same patterns, then it just means I only have to do it for one night, and then I can put it away and work on something else that might be confetti heavy, and that just means that I have a chance to work on that and then come back to this. So I really am enjoying the variety that this schedule affords me. So that was Ganesha. And let's see, next up, I'll show you the project I'm working on for Monday nights. So this is by Crosstag Studio, which is a full coverage company, and they have put out a mystery cell for this year. Actually, it runs for almost 1.5 years. That's how big it is. And I committed to it, and let's see. So I'm still working on the first page, and I really want to finish it by the end of the month before I get the second page, because I have a feeling that if I don't get on top of it, then I might slowly lose interest and I don't want to do that. I'm enjoying this so much. I still have not a clue about what this is. So this is done on 18 count 2/1 full cross. It's still just a lot of yellows, and there is a spattering of pink in there, and it's hilarious because on their group chat in the Facebook page, a lot of people were questioning, wait a minute, am I supposed to be stitching this pink in the midst of all this yellow? Some of the comments were hilarious, but here's where I am with that. So this is far away, you can get the truer shades. And this, if it focuses, there you go. So I don't know if you can pick up the pink, but really there is no pattern, nothing. All I know from other people's finishes, there is brown coming here. So I have just this much left to do, but I really want to finish it. So I'll tell you what I decided on that. But let's move on to my Monday night stitches, which is, okay, so I'm back. I had to kind of stop the video to go get my tablet because I haven't been showing you what my projects are going to look like. So I'm just going to quickly go back and show you what the completed version of Ganesha is supposed to be like. For those of you who don't know, it is a Heaven and Earth Designs project, and let's see if that will open up in a timely manner, which it doesn't look like it's gonna. Come on. Okay, so this is a good close representation. So this is what the finished piece is going to look like. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot to go, but I'm going to persevere because the finished product is going to look so beautiful. I just love the colors in this one. Back to the next project. So the next one was a mystery, so I have nothing to show you of what the finished piece is going to look like. But let's see now. So the next piece that I'm going to talk about was my Tuesday night stitches. It's the Siamese fighting fish that I'm doing for Anita, and she has an Etsy shop, so I will link that down there. So she is a very new designer. She has a artist son who is creating these beautiful pieces, and she really wanted to convert them to cross stitch because she's a crafter. And once he finally conceded, she created these beautiful charts, but she wanted some help in seeing how they're going to turn up actually stitched. So she contacted me and asked me if I wouldn't mind stitching the Siamese fighting fish. And I said, well, yeah, of course, I love full coverage. So why not? And the piece that she asked me to do is very colorful. Not at the moment, because the corner that I'm working on is kind of dark. So it's a lot of blacks and navies and stuff, but this is the finished piece. So who wouldn't want to work on that? Okay, so, and with it, she sent me some beautiful, beautiful specialty threads. So I haven't gotten to use any of those yet, but here is where I am. So I think the last time I showed you just a tiny little bit of black in the corner. It's still a tiny little bit of black in the corner. However, as you can see, I actually got to put some color in, and boy was that exciting. Who would have thought that a few bits of color in the midst of black would just be so exciting to stitch? I was over the moon, and here it is. I don't know if we can focus on that, but this is it. I'm not even going to show you how many folds there are here so you can see how big this piece is. We're just going to not look at that part. But this is how much I have done. So tiny little bit of color in the black. So Anita, I'm getting there, but this is how much I have done now. But I have devoted Tuesday nights to this so that every week I at least get some stitches put in it, as opposed to waiting for it to come around in my rotation. Then it will probably at sometimes never even get touched for weeks on end. And I didn't want that to happen because I really wanted to do this for her. Now, so those are the 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the 3 projects that I wanted to make sure that I dedicated time to. And it's been about 2 weeks now since I started this new stitching rotation plan, and I'm liking it for the most part. But I realized that my timeline meant, and I calculated how many stitches, because I am a very visual stitcher as well as a very, I don't know what you would call it, but I like to know how much I've done, how much I have left to do, because sometimes I like to plan it. So on this one, back to the Mystery Sal from Crosstag Studio, I realized how many I have left to do and how many more Mondays I have left in the month before the next page comes out. And I had to calculate it, and I realized there are not enough Mondays in the month. So I had to kind of decide, okay, now what? Do I just, catch up when I can, or do I do a little bit extra? So what I did for the next few days was I calculated how much I had left, and then I divided it by how many days I have left until the end of the month, and I had to stitch that many extra stitches a day to catch up at the end of the month. I think it was like something like 200 stitches. So a couple of nights this week, I added 200 stitches on this before I picked up whatever project I was supposed to work on for that day based on my rotation wheel. So that means that hopefully I will actually get this page finished before the next page comes out, because I don't know, I think I will just get kind of like overwhelmed if I'm not finished this and then the next page comes out. So I really, really want to get this done. So that's the 3 main projects that I'm working on. I'm going to say for the next few months, because I really want these to be my focus pieces for the year, but I also don't want to overwhelm myself and kind of be too strict with it, which you'll notice with the next few rotation pieces. Even though every day I switched it up, if for a particular day, I think there was a day where I had a headache, so I couldn't really put much stitches on it, and there was one other day that something was going on that I couldn't stitch a lot on it. So instead of picking another one, I just did that same project, because it really didn't get a full day of stitching, or a 24 hours worth of stitching, which I really only stitch about a couple hours here and there if you count all the stitching time. So the next piece that I worked on in the last 2 weeks, besides my 3 focus pieces, I put a little, tiny little bit of work on Autumn Owl Trio. Super cute, adorable. I think it was a few years ago when owls were like the next big thing, and it was the theme for like any kind of baby thing. It was the theme for parties. It was owls were everywhere. And I saw this chart on Heaven and Earth Designs, and I was like, I want it. I want it. And this was before I had ever gotten any kind of fabric with color on it. Like now I have a few pieces of fabric. I've coffee dyed. I have a few pieces of fabric from various companies that, watercolor type. And if I had my time back, maybe I would have purchased a fabric to use as the background of this piece and stitched only the owls. But as it is, what I decided to do, so here it is. So what I decided to do was cut off the top part. So I'm actually only stitching that much, right? Because no way was I going to stitch all that orange. Oh my good Lord, I would never get through that. So I decided against that. So if I did have my time back, I would have probably shopped for a fabric. I only really got into finding these colorful fabrics and stuff because I do full coverage. So it didn't make sense to me, but now I do it just because they're fun to look at while you're stitching. And who knows, I might leave a bit of border. I have one piece I'm working on, which I'm not going to show today because I didn't work on her in the last couple weeks. Maybe she'll come up next time. So yeah, I might have gone with a colorful piece, but I didn't. I picked this color, which is your standard 22 count. I think it's like a pale yellow. That's what I had in my stash at the time. And you know me, I'm just in such a rush. I will use whatever I have on hand if it means I can start my project. So I already had most of this done. The only bit that I worked on was filling in more of this bottom orange. So I did mostly all of this stuff here, and I think the owl will continue here, and that is how much I got done. But even just half an owl is so adorable. So this one is actually in my UFO pile, and my rotation wheel landed on a UFO, and then I have another wheel for all my UFOs that I pick, and that is how I ended up with the owl. So I put in a few stitches, I put in a few stitches on the owl, and then the very next day, the wheel landed on Peridot. So I was able to stitch a little bit more on her. She has a bit more of her arm done and a little bit more of her dress done. So very exciting. She is, let's show you what she's going to look like. This is QS Peridot, which is the August birthstone, and I'm very close to a finish, so I'm excited to get some work done on her. Lots of greens, and it's taking time to load, so let's try a different option. No, I don't like that. Bear with me, technology is not my friend today, apparently. Okay, we'll give that a few seconds to see if it loads. But in the meantime, here is what I have stitched. So I'm kind of moved on from whatever style stitching I was doing to going kind of cross country because I just wanted to finish it. I finished up that arm behind her, and it just makes the piece because you can notice the angle of her body, and there's just a tiny little bit of her dress up here, so you know which way she's, the shape of her is just beautiful. The wings are almost all done. I think, actually no, yeah, the wings are all done because that's stitched down there. Can't tell from far away, but that's all stitched. And then you've got her arm there, and look at the design in her dress. I mean, how beautiful is that going to be? So excited. And then her arm is almost done, and then the rest of this green stuff. So, well, apparently it doesn't want me to show you what it's supposed to look like. Maybe I can find it in the gallery. I know I have her somewhere. Here we go. So this is what she's gonna look like. Oh my gosh. Glare, glare, glare. And I thought doing it in the daytime, this video was gonna be so much easier. But here she is. So you can see I just have this dress to do, and then it's all sky. So very much looking forward to that. So those are the two pieces that I worked on. And lastly, I was working feverishly on this one, and I almost finished what I wanted to finish, but there's just so much detail in this, it's just not possible. So this one is World Travel Bookshelf by Amy Stewart, charting by Heaven and Earth Designs, and I am stitching it on 25 count 1/1 full cross. 25 count is tiny, just a little bit bigger than the Siamese fish, which I was stitching on 28 count. So here, I'm going to first show you just the section that I'm working on, and then I'll open her up. So the bookshelf, as many of you know, has 4 shelves, all travel related. I, of course, started in the top left-hand corner, but I'm doing something different. I separated all the shelves, and I'm only stitching the top shelf. If I have enough stitching time in my lifetime, I may get to the other shelves. But I didn't want to overwhelm myself because of the stitch count, how tiny it was, and because it's really not a focus piece. I just do it because it's beautiful and it's colorful. I didn't want to stress myself out, so I'm doing just the top shelf. And, excuse me, maybe I should have brought myself something to drink. All right, so here is what I worked on. Mostly it was finishing up this section here, and it's an envelope. It's like an envelope, and look what the stamp is. I didn't even realize what that was until I actually took it off the frame and I checked what I had done. It's a little elephant stamp. I mean, how adorable is that? So, love it, love it, love it. It's one of my favorite pieces to work on, but I don't give it enough time, which is okay because I have a lot of projects, and really, who has the time for everything? So here's the whole piece so far. The detail in this is exquisite. Here it is. So it's coming along nicely, slowly but nicely. And can I just say that when I put this down, and I was just checking to see how much I had done, I checked on the Pattern Keeper app. You guys, I have 30% done. That means it's only 70%. I know that sounds like a lot, but to me, 30% is a lot of progress on a chart that I've been working on for like forever. And so I'm like, woohoo, 30% done. That means I mean, when you open up the fabric and you see how much 70% looks like, forget about that. We're not going to do that. But just that 30-70 split sounds fine to me. I couldn't be happier. So yeah, super psyched to move on with that one. And so those were all of my works in progresses. I hope you liked what I was working on, and I'm just enjoying stitching so much, and I hope that I can continue this hobby for ever and ever because it's the best thing. Like I keep saying that cross stitching is my zen. It is what gives me joy. And you know what? If it doesn't give you joy, you shouldn't be doing it. So, I think I'm going to continue with this whole rotation schedule that I've set for myself. I kind of think that I'm getting in a groove with it. The next 3 days, today, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I have set projects, but I like the variety that the rest of the week gives me. Gives me something to look forward to because it's always like a nice surprise. Oh, what am I going to work on today? Let's find out. So that's that. And then I have a couple of pieces that came in the mail of things that I had ordered. Now, when you're stitching, I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't matter how you end your thread, if you're slipping it through a few stitches in the back of your work, or if you're knotting it, there's always like a tiny piece of thread left. Unless you're one of those who either pin stitch and you cut it really close. I'm always super afraid of putting the scissors anywhere really, really close to my stitching. It just gives me anxiety. So sometimes, depending on the project, I will knot it or I will slip it under a few stitches in the back. But there's always like a tiny little tail left. And then if you're stitching in that area still, then there are chances are that that little piece will come back up the front of the piece. And it is so annoying to try and tuck it back through. It's like when you have a sweater and it gets snagged and the stitch comes out the front and you have to try and find that stitch from the back of the sweater and pull it back through. Well, did you know that there's a tool that does that for you? Not for the sweaters, but for your stitching. It's called a snag nabbit. I have been wanting one for a long time and I just never got one. I don't know why, but I found this great deal and I have to check. I think it was Amazon that I got it on, and it came this week and it was actually really quick. But basically it's like a needle, but with no eye of the needle. So it's just like a needle. It's sharp, pointy on this end here. And then at this end it's textured. So you push it through the top where the little piece of floss had come through, and you pull it through, and the rough bit of the needle, the textured side, pulls it back through. So I'm excited about using this because I don't know if it'll work on something so tiny. I think it should be fine. I mean, you're just pushing it right through, but it'll definitely work on the majority of my pieces, which are either 18 count or 22 count. So that's great. And then another thing that I actually bought a few needle minders, and only one came in the mail so far, so I won't tell you what the other ones were until I get them. But one thing you should know about me is I do like to bake, but I'm not the greatest baker out there. I can make, muffins and whatever. But the one thing that I do know how to bake is macaroons. And a few years ago, my best friend and I, we were hanging out and we decided we want to learn how to make this. And it was as a joke, really. And then I ended up getting kind of good at it. And so now everyone knows that I make macaroons, and I do it for every occasion. I'll do it for Christmas, for Valentine's Day, for Easter, and I'll just give it to everybody. Everyone keeps saying I should charge for my macaroons, but I just do it because it's fun. And the thing is, I love making them, but I don't have very much of a sweet tooth, so I don't eat them a lot, which I think is a good thing, because if I really loved eating the sweet, then I would just gain way too much weight. So it's better this way. So there's gonna be a little bit of crinkly as I open the bag, but my needle minder came, and it's a macaroon. Like, oh, how adorable is it? So it just came in a little sleeve, and then it came with this foam cardboard there, and it came in this little card, Box of Oddities from boxofoddities.com. So we're going to take it off. That is a very strong magnet. Like, how adorable is that? I mean, looks very yummy. I might have to make matching macaroons, but so excited to start using this on my project. And you know what? I'm gonna just put it on. Oh my God, that magnet is strong. Let's just put her on here so we can see how cool that is. Right? That's so cute. I can't wait to start sticking my needle on there so I don't lose it. Oh my God, losing a needle when you're stitching is like the worst thing. If I drop a needle, I literally freeze for a few seconds and try to remember exactly what I was doing before I lost the needle, and then I'll search for it. Yeah, because you don't want lost needles are a danger. So those are the two little purchases that I got. I'm going to continue with my stitching plans of my 3 focus pieces and my rotation pieces, so we'll see where it takes me. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a blast, and I look forward to the next couple of weeks of stitching before I join you again for my next video. And please comment below with anything you would like to say. I love seeing your comments. They bring me so much joy. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave it down below. I will, in the description box, I will link anything that I've discussed today, like all the charts and everything. If I forget something, please let me know and I can give you that information. It has been a blast. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. And I look forward to the next time. Happy stitching, everyone. Bye now.